Hello students, today we shall see the examples of summarization. In the previous video, we saw how to write summary. We saw do's and don'ts of summary writing. The link of that video is given in the description box. Today, we shall see some more examples of summarization. Read the given passage and write the summary. Terrorism is not confined to any single state, country or region. It has now become an international phenomenon. If there is conventional attack or invasion, governments concerned can meet it effectively. But terrorism and sabotage from within are such nasty things that they do not admit of any satisfactory preventive measure. People are viewing a cinema show in the hall and suddenly a bomb goes off, leaving all the adult members of a whole family dead. People are going on a holiday from one station to another with rosy dreams of going times ahead. Suddenly a drama is enacted in mid-air. If the worst does not happen in mid-air, the plane may soon land in an unfriendly country, exposing the passengers abroad and their folks back home to untold misery. In short, death is lurking at the most unlikely places, holding the whole communities, state and nations to ransom. Why do the terrorists strike, and what do they get from their acts of cold cruelty? The answer is very simple. The terrorists strike out of desperation and they gain nothing at all. On the other hand, they lose a lot. They get a bad name not only for themselves but also for the group, community, organization to which they belong. They act out of desperation. Dear students, in this passage, we come to know about terrorism. So, we shall give the title Terrorism. See the summary. Terrorism can be found everywhere in the world. It is difficult to find a preventive measure against it. Terrorism and sabotage cause a lot of destruction. They lead to human death. One does not know when it will strike. Terrorists strike out of desperation. They gain nothing. Let us take another passage. What does human resource development mean? It signifies identifying, developing the capabilities inherent in every citizen to its full extent. Health and education of a person is more important than land and capital. Ill health brings suffering, loss of employment, inefficiency, and extra expenditure. The first priority program for human resource development is therefore extending relief to the poverty-stricken millions of our brethren so that they can overcome their physical and mental disabilities. The next task that must engage the attention of those trying to develop the human resources is to provide the requisite facilities for a purposeful training of the available manpower so that its creative abilities are cultivated and it is equipped with the skills needed to perform a productive role and contribute to the maximum prosperity of the maximum number. This is where education and technical training step into play their crucial role and weave a pattern of creativity so that these people can trade on it to accomplish their goals. This passage is about human resource development. Human resource development requires that the capabilities in every citizen must be identified. They must be developed. Importance must be given to health and education. Relief must be given to millions of poor people in the poor countries. Facilities must be created so that all citizens can play a productive role in the development of society. The third passage. All the same, there is no denying the fact that tourism has a big role to play in the economy of the nation. Government should in the years to come remove the obstructions that stand in the way of growth of tourism. Considering the value of tourism, schools and colleges should arrange educational tours for students. Such facilities should be extended to all students. Tourism has made rich contribution to the religion, culture and economy of different countries. Megasthenes, Fa Hin, Huan Sung and other tourists of yesterday came to India after surmounting great difficulties. They have written many valuable books about India and her people. From their writings, we get many important clues about the land and the people of India of those days. In ancient times, tourism was full of difficulties. There was total lack of transport and communication facilities. People traveled with the help of animals or on foot. Sometimes they lost their lives on the way. You may read the travels of Marco Polo to know the difficulties faced by the tourists in the past. Hence, the bulk of the people in those days remained shut up within their homes and moved out only scarcely. But now, things have changed. Today, travel has become much easier and enjoyable. This passage tells us about tourism, so we shall give the title Tourism. See the summary. The economy of a nation can be very much helped by tourism. Realizing this, government should remove obstructions in the growth of tourism. Tourism has made the religion, culture and economy of different countries rich. Many foreign tourists came to India in ancient days. Tourism was difficult then owing to total lack of transport and communication facilities. Today, it is easier and enjoyable. Another passage. A good citizen should place his entire wealth, intellect and energy at the service of the country. He should stand up for the larger ideals and should cherish a humanitarian approach to all problems. He should promote friendliness and understanding among people of different lands. A good citizen should always realize his duties and responsibilities outside the sphere of his own life. He should rid himself of the inertia which is the legacy from the epoch of our slavery. A good citizen will not keep waiting for the government to take up some work of public good which it identifies as requiring urgent action. It is a wrong attitude on the part of citizens to look up to the government for all works of public welfare. If there is any shortcoming anywhere, he should make it up by personal or collective effort using his initiative. He should be more responsive to new ideas promoting peace and socialism. If each citizen contributes even a small part of his time and energy towards the service of the country, a miracle can be achieved in the progress of the country. The passage tells us what a good citizen should do. Here we shall give the title, A Good Citizen. There are many things that a good citizen can do for his country. He should serve his country using his entire wealth, intellect and energy. He should foster friendliness and understanding among people of different countries. A good citizen should accept new ideas and promote peace and socialism. A miracle can be achieved if every citizen contributes even a small part of his time and energy for his country. Then another passage. Words are powerful. From others, they often influence or direct our decisions and behavior, while our own words act to elicit responses from those who receive them. An old Buddhist master spoke to his students, "Tonight, I would like to speak to you about wise speech. According to the Buddha, wise speech is that which is truthful, gentle, helpful, spoken from a kind heart and is timely." Then he spoke at great length about the harm that results from rude, mean-spirited, harsh or careless words. A young disciple said, "Sir, I do not understand how this can be. A stone can bruise, theft can deprive, but words are just sounds having no substance. I must disagree with you when you suggest they are so powerful." The master replied, "If you weren't such an ignorant idiot, you would understand. So sit down, shut up and stop interrupting." The startled young man fell silent, but about 10 minutes later jumped to his feet, face red, eyes bulging, fists clenched, his whole body shaking. The old man turned to him. "You seem perturbed. Your gentle disposition is shattered. What happened to you? You hurled harsh insults I did not deserve. You cannot possibly be the great teacher you pretend to be. You are a fraud." The old man responded, "Ah, I see. It was my words that had such a transforming effect upon you. It seems you and I agree that speech can be quite powerful. Words, especially from those we consider leader, can guide us or deceive us, make us knowledgeable or ignorant, violent or peaceful, sad or joyful, wise or foolish. Words give birth to ideas which in turn create powerful emotions which rule the hearts of men and women, who then can act constructively or destructively for justice or injustice." Write a summary of the above passage in about 3 or 4 sentences with the help of the following points given. Add a suitable title. The points are given: influence of words, positive and negative power, words of the leaders, effect. See here, in this passage, a story is given, but you have not to write anything about the story. The story is given only to make you understand the power of words. The theme of this passage is the power of words. So, we shall give the title, The Power of Words. See the summary. Words said to others or received from others can influence the mind. They have immense power. They can influence our minds positively or negatively. Especially, the words of the leaders are capable of creating ideas that can turn into blessings or curse. Dear students, I hope your ideas regarding summary are clear.